Great to see you, Paul, as always. Paul, let's start with Shedeur. Any issue with him not shaking hands?
None whatsoever. Yeah, in a perfect world, everybody should sing Kumbaya, but that's not what happened here. The quarterback trash talked all week, and Shedeur shut his mouth up, and it's over. I think he did the right thing.
I agree, Paul. I mean, like you said, in the ideal setting, you know what we do after a hard contested battle? We go to the middle of the field, we shake hands, hey, good luck, wish you the best moving forward. But not after you talk crazy to me. I ain't shaking your hand. I'm going to do exactly, I'm going to be in your face. I'm going to be talking the whole game, first of all, because you brought it to me. So, you know, you sent for me, and I didn't send for you. I'm going to send you away disappointed. So I have no problems with what Shedeur did.
Neither do I. I will say that initially I questioned it because I was like, come on, that's going to create the bad headlines. Why bother? But then I saw the video of the two teammates, him and, you know, the opposing quarterback and Horton, talking the smack that they were talking. And I'm saying, wait a minute. Yes. And it wasn't just about them going against them. You're social media and, you know, just proclaiming that they haven't done anything, they didn't deserve anything. First of all, they beat you last year. Secondly, not only did they beat you last year, you were going up against them this year. And you were really, really trying to question the character of the program and the character of those individuals. And when I saw what they said, nah, we ain't shaking hands. Nah, I don't blame Shedeur Sanders for doing what he did one bit. That quarterback deserved it. He really, really did.
I don't know. I just got to say real quick, guys, I think he should have just shook his hand. It's like, who cares? You just won. It's actually showing that you care more by dissing him, I feel like, than if you just shook his hand. I don't know. I'm just someone that doesn't base fairness on goodness, and you won anyway. But we'll move on. Arch Manning threw for 4 touchdowns and ran for 1 more in place of the injured Quinn Ewers this weekend. What did Arch prove with this performance, Paul?
He proved that he can take this team to the national championship. And I know that Quinn Ewers has a lot more experience than Arch Manning, but what I saw from Arch Manning Saturday and what everyone saw has me convinced that there's really not much drop-off. The only drop-off is experience, but this guy is a Manning after all. He's been weaned on the game since the crib, and I give him credit. What I really give him credit for, Molly, was staying at Texas. Any other player would have departed for a couple $1 million, and he could have earned that because of his name and his prowess. But he stayed there to wait his turn. He finally got it. And do we have a quarterback controversy? Yeah, we got the Heisman Trophy favorite, Quinn Ewers, at least until last week, now looking over his shoulder at the prodigal son. And quite frankly, I think Sark, whenever Ewers is back, we'll go with him. But at the first sign of trouble, the fans will want Arch Manning in there quickly.
Paul, he stayed at the University of Texas. He went to University of Texas because Sark's resume of developing quarterbacks. You go back and look at his history, and the Mannings wanted their nephew and his son developed to go play at the next level. Yeah, he could have left for a couple $1 million, but he'd have left behind $3.5, $4 million at Texas that he's getting in NIL money. Now, look, I'm not saying that he's not going to be great like his big uncle and Eli, but come on now, let's be real. That was University of Texas, San Antonio. That's not going on the road and beating Alabama. That's not going on the road and beating Michigan in the big house. Now, we know Michigan has fallen on hard times, but still, to take your show on the road and beat blue blood programs is a lot different than beating UT San Antonio at home. Let's not get carried away. I'm not saying Arch isn't good, but Quinn Ewers, I believe that once he comes back and he's healthy, he'll get that starting job back. Unless now Arch keeps playing, and I don't know who's on their schedule, he keep putting up numbers like this, it's going to be very difficult. But I think, no, I'm not going to overreact to beating UT San Antonio.
Shannon Sharpe, I appreciate your opinion there because I was getting ready to ask Paul Finebaum to go get drug tested. I don't know what the hell he was talking about. I'm like, what are you talking about, Paul? I mean, he's shown you that he can get to the national championship. Well, Quinn Ewers hasn't shown that yet. They went in the national championship game last year. They were in the playoffs. The national championship was Michigan versus Washington. So, I mean, how did he show you this? Because he's going up against the University of Texas / San Antonio. Really? That's where we going? Stop it. Now, listen, Arch Manning, Promising, no doubt about it. He's a Manning. The pedigree is elite. We understand it. We expect greatness from him. He certainly has shown us nothing to refute such proclamations. I get all of that. But the flip side to it is that it's UTSA. All right, and who do you have next? Louisiana Monroe. Not LSU. Louisiana Monroe. And then after that, you got Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M. We'll see what happens. But my God, University of Texas, San Antonio, a performance against them is what has Paul Finebaum saying, he showed you he can take you to the national championship. Really? Really? No, Paul.
Yeah.
Let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes, man. Let's pump the brakes, man. Seriously.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all that, Stephen A., and I'll be happy to be drug tested as long as you guys are with me. But the point
yes,
being,
I'm with you.
but the point being, I don't know if I'll be able to finish this. That I've been watching this kid since he was in high school, Stephen A., and he has it. And by the way, he just didn't roll out of bed out of high school. I mean, he's been there a while. He won't. I know that. I know who he is. And he's got plenty of time. Listen, the schedule's easy. Monroe and Mississippi State, who lost to Toledo the other night at home. So he's got plenty of time. He's got the bye week, and then the season begins. He's got Oklahoma, and then he's got Georgia, the two biggest games on the schedule. And that's when it gets real. And I think Ewers will be back. But all I'm saying is, if Ewers has trouble, and he has had a hard time staying healthy, Stephen A., I wouldn't hesitate for 1 second putting Arch Manning in there.
Okay.
Don't misunderstand me here. I didn't say Ewers ought to be sent to the trash pack, okay? I just said he's ready to go, and I think he can do it.
You said national championship, and oh, by the way, you know it's bad when Mississippi State.
I did say that.
Wait. You know it's bad. You know it's bad, Shannon. When Paul Finebaum, he doesn't say Toledo, he says Toledo. You know it's bad. You know it's bad when Mississippi State Toledo. I didn't know that existed. Okay, I got it. No problem.
Paul, let me ask you a question. What Arch Manning did against UT San Antonio, do you believe Ewers, if he stays in that game, the score is comparable or they score less?
The score is comparable, but the one thing that Arch did that I don't think anybody was counting on was his running ability. I mean, he's fast. He doesn't look like any of the other Mannings, okay? And I think that's what electrified that crowd. And his grandpa was a great runner. You're absolutely right. Stephen A., that's all I'm saying here. I mean, listen, just slow down, everybody. I know everybody's on edge right now, but the point is, I think he can do it. I'm not even sure, by the way, that Texas can win the national championship, but I would have no problem, is my only point here, gentlemen, if Arch Manning took this program over in the event Ewers doesn't come back well. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
I appreciate the clarification.
But
I appreciate the clarification.
Let me get one more in here. I'm glad we're doing a round of drug
Wow.
tests. That's great. Now at 0-3.
Inquisition here today.
Seriously, they're on one. Are FSU's college football playoff chances over, Paul?
Yeah, they're over. They've been over since Dublin on week 0. But they're not going. I mean, they have 3 losses, and I mean, right now they can't beat anybody. I mean, they lost to Memphis, which is a good Group of 5 team. But right now, with the schools on their schedule, take a look at it. I mean, they're going to have a hard time getting to a New Year's bowl game right now. So yes, Florida State's done. The only thing I will say about Florida State, and a lot of people are saying, should Mike Norvell be fired? You know, guys, I love firing coaches with the rest of them. But he just signed a new contract. He could have maybe gone to Alabama. He was contacted for that job. He signed a new deal. He's not going anywhere. I still think he's a good coach. He's just having a miserable year.
Yeah, but when you're in those big schools like that, Paul, you can't have too many members. You can't lose to the teams that he's losing to in the fashion in which he's losing. Now, if you lose, you lose to University of Miami, you lose to Alabama, you lose to these teams, and it's a nip-tuck ball game. But you lose to Georgia Tech, you lose to Memphis, you lose to the team that he's losing to. Man, them boosters ain't gonna be pleased with that.
Well,
this man has lost.
Stephen A., guess what? Stephen A., you realize that's Deion's alma mater. I'm just saying.
Yes, that's where I was going. Because listen, I'm not advocating for the man to be fired or anything like that. But the flip side to it, I mean, like you said, these losses didn't come against Alabama, Georgia, LSU, or somebody. They came against Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Memphis. That's who the losses came against. And so it's one of those situations where I'm like, when you got the personnel, that's great. But what's your recruiting like? What kind of talent you've got coming in? You know, I think they really made a bad statement last year, Paul, when their starters, most of their starters didn't show up for the bowl game once they got snubbed from the playoffs because Jordan Traffic got hurt. And so you go there and you lose 63-3 in a bowl game. It's amazing how stuff can come back and bite you. Those plays, you can't blame them for making that decision. But, my God, for most of your team not to even show up when Georgia's team, who were the two-time reigning defending national champions and hadn't lost a game until the SEC title game against Alabama, when they show up to play, but you don't, and you get shellacked like that, I think it sent a bad message, and I think it's going to be difficult for him to have what he had last year.
All right, we'll leave it there. Stephen A., why don't you worry about showing up? Because you got an A-list coming up, and you got to do it remote. So let's see if you can bring the energy. Paul, great to see you, sir.
How much? How much?